The emergency session of the Terran Defense Council convened in the reinforced bunkers beneath Geneva as the ultimatum countdown reached its final hours. President Sarah Chen stood before the holographic displays showing real-time positions of the Galactic Coalition's invasion fleet, over 10,000 ships from 47 different species, assembled in Earth's outer solar system like a noose around humanity's throat. Madam President, General Marcus Rodriguez reported grimly, long-range sensors confirm the Coalition fleet has reached final attack positions. They're maintaining formation at the Kuiper Belt, waiting for our response to their surrender demand. The ultimatum had been delivered 72 hours earlier by High Chancellor Vorthak of the Galactic Coalition, his multi-eyed visage filling every screen on Earth. The human species has violated 17 interstellar laws, disrupted established trade routes, and refused to submit to galactic authority. You have 72 standard hours to surrender your military assets and accept protectorate status under coalition governance. Refusal will result in the complete sterilization of your system. Chen turned to Dr. Amanda Foster, director of the Terran Research Initiative. Status report on Project Prometheus? Dr. Foster's face was pale but determined. All 7 prototype vessels are operational, Madam President. The quantum-fold drives have exceeded our most optimistic projections. We've successfully tested the reality anchor systems, and the probability weapons are ready for deployment. The woman beside Foster, Admiral Lisa Park, stepped forward. Ma'am, I must reiterate my concerns. We have 7 ships against 10,000. Even with our technological advantages. Admiral, Chen interrupted, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's survival. For the past decade, the galaxy has treated us like children who stumbled into their playground. They've restricted our expansion, stolen our resources, and now they want to reduce us to a client species. What's the alternative to fighting? The room fell silent. Everyone knew the answer: protectorate status meant the end of human independence, centuries of serving as a labor force for alien empires, their technology confiscated, their children educated in alien schools to become compliant servants of the coalition. The alternative, Park said quietly, is extinction with dignity instead of extinction with slavery. Chen nodded grimly. Then we fight. At the edge of the Kuiper Belt, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the TDF Defiance, humanity's first quantum-fold warship. Through the neural interface connecting him to the ship's AI, he could perceive the massive coalition fleet spread across millions of cubic kilometers of space. Kitharan bioships pulsed with organic weapons. Zephyrian crystal matrices hummed with exotic energy. Andromedan hive ships bristled with thousands of fighter craft. Captain, his exo-lieutenant. Commander Yuki Tanaka reported, we're receiving the coalition's final transmission. The view screen activated, showing High Chancellor Vorthak in all his imposing 8-foot height, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the lights of his command vessel. 4 additional species commanders flanked him, a crystalline Andromedian, a gaseous nebular entity, a cybernetic machina, and a telepathic ethereal whose thoughts rippled visibly around its translucent form. Humans of the Sol system, Vorthak's mandibles clicked with each word, your surrender deadline has expired. We detect 7 primitive vessels approaching our perimeter. Withdraw immediately, or we will demonstrate why 47 civilizations chose to join our coalition rather than oppose it. Morrison activated his own transmission, broadcasting on all frequencies. High Chancellor Vorthak, this is Captain Morrison of the Terran Defense Force. I'm authorized to deliver humanity's official response to your ultimatum. He paused, feeling the weight of every human life depending on the next few seconds. Behind him, his crew of 35 men and women represented the best of Earth's military, scientific, and engineering talent. In the 6 other Terran ships spread across the outer system, 240 more souls carried humanity's hopes into the void. Our answer is no, Morrison said simply. Earth does not surrender. Vorthak's compound eyes glittered with something resembling amusement. Captain Morrison, your species' reputation for stubbornness precedes you. However, mathematics are absolute. 7 ships cannot prevail against 10,000. You're right, Morrison admitted. 7 conventional ships couldn't. But these aren't conventional ships. He nodded to Tanaka, who initiated the quantum fold sequence. Reality twisted around the Defiance as it shifted into hyperspace, existing simultaneously in multiple dimensional layers. From the Coalition fleet's perspective, the Terran ship simply vanished. Impossible, the Andromedan commander's harmonic voice resonated through quantum foam. No species has achieved stable interdimensional phase shifting. Target their flagship, Morrison ordered. The Defiance's probability weapons locked onto Vorthack's command ship. Unlike conventional energy weapons that fired particles or beams, probability weapons altered quantum probabilities at the target location. They could make armor suddenly become permeable, cause fusion reactors to spontaneously shut down, or transform solid matter into quantum foam. The first salvo struck Vorthack's dreadnought. 2 kilometers of reinforced biometal hull simply ceased to exist as its molecular bonds became probabilistically impossible. The massive vessel vented atmosphere and began listing to starboard. All Terran vessels, engage at will, Morrison broadcast to his small fleet. System, humanity's 7 ships began their dance of death with a fleet 500 times their number. The TDF Vengeance. Across the outer. Dropped out of quantum fold directly inside a Zephyrian crystal matrix, its reality anchors preventing the alien vessel from maintaining structural cohesion. The TDF Retribution used its dimensional drives to appear simultaneously at 12 different locations, confusing Coalition targeting systems while its probability weapons systematically dismantled an entire squadron of Kithran bioships. But the Coalition wasn't defenseless. Energy beams from 100 ships converged on the TDF Courage, overwhelming its quantum shields. Captain Sarah Kim's last transmission was a defiant for Earth, as her ship's antimatter core breached, taking 6 Coalition vessels with it in a miniature supernova. "Captain," Tanaka reported, her voice tight with stress, "we're down to 6 ships. Coalition forces are adapting their targeting algorithms. They're beginning to predict our quantum fold patterns." Morrison watched the tactical display as swarms of fighter craft began surrounding probable emergence points for Terran vessels. The Coalition had numbers, experience, and now they were learning. Humanity's technological surprise wouldn't last much longer. "All ships, implement Protocol Omega," Morrison ordered. Dr. Foster's voice echoed in his memory, "Protocol Omega is theoretical, Captain. We've never tested it on this scale. The quantum fold drives of all remaining ships would need to synchronize perfectly, creating a resonance cascade that could." "Could what, Doctor?" "Could tear a hole in spacetime itself. The resulting gravitational anomaly would be significant." Now, as Coalition ships closed in on all sides, Morrison hoped Foster's calculations were correct. 6 Terran vessels began synchronizing their quantum fold drives, creating harmonic resonances in the fabric of reality itself. Vorthack's damaged flagship limped away from the battle zone as his tactical officers reported impossible readings. "Chancellor, the human vessels are creating a standing wave in the quantum field. Energy levels are exceeding all known parameters." Space began to warp around the convergence point where humanity's remaining ships had gathered. Stars appeared distorted, their light bending in impossible directions. The Coalition fleet found their own ships pulled inexorably toward the growing anomaly. "Withdraw. All ships withdraw." Vorthack commanded, but it was too late. The quantum resonance cascade reached critical mass. Reality tore open like wet paper, revealing the writhing chaos of hyperspace beneath. The gravitational shear caught a third of the Coalition fleet, crushing their vessels into exotic matter before dragging them into dimensions where the laws of physics operated differently. Morrison felt the Defiance being pulled toward the anomaly they had created. "This is Captain Morrison to all Coalition vessels," he broadcast on emergency frequencies. "You came here to make humanity surrender. Instead, you've learned why we never will. Tell the galaxy that Earth stands free, or Earth stands as a grave. There will be no middle ground." The quantum tear began collapsing, but not before consuming Morrison's ship and the remaining Terran vessels. They had given their lives to send an unmistakable message across the stars. High Chancellor Vorthak, aboard one of the few coalition ships to escape the gravitational anomaly, stared at the twisted space where a third of his fleet had vanished. In the span of one battle, humanity had demonstrated technology that defied galactic scientific understanding and a willingness to embrace mutual destruction rather than subjugation. "Send a message to the Coalition Council," Vorthak ordered, his voice subdued. "Recommend immediate cessation of hostile operations against the Sol system. Classification: extreme threat. Approach with diplomatic channels only." As his battered fleet limped toward the nearest coalition starbase, Vorthak reflected on an old saying from his homeworld: "Never corner a predator unless you're prepared to become prey." Humanity, it seemed, was a predator that preferred to die fighting rather than live in cages. On Earth, President Chen received the quantum-transmitted final messages from Morrison and his crews. The sacrifice of 245 souls had purchased humanity's continued existence, but more importantly, it had announced to the galaxy that Earth would never kneel. The war for human independence had begun with a declaration written in fire across the cosmos: "We are here. We are free. And we will die before we serve."